If your idea of a perfect night is a good book, a cozy blanket, and ignoring your to-do list, we're gonna get along just fine. Hey there, I'm Barbara, and in this video, I'm answering the BookTube Newbie Tag questions and telling you what kind of reader I am because honestly, it's a little all over the place. Well, honestly, I love reading, but I love yapping about books. And not just books, lots of different bookish content. I love talking about reading journals, collecting books, buying books, doing other cozy crafts while listening to audiobooks, because trust me, these are all separate hobbies, and I love learning about what you're doing and sharing what I'm doing as well, and building this community surrounding books and reading. I think in order my favorite genres are fantasy and romantasy and romance. These are kind of my comfort reads, my go-to reads that I always have something going in those genres. I also do love literary fiction and historical fiction. And sometimes I will try a little bit of mystery and suspense. Not as big a fan of the horror, but I am learning. I am trying new genres all the time thanks to content that I'm seeing and reviews that I see about different books on different BookTube channels. So I love trying new things as well. What am I currently reading? I'm trying to be good about finishing series that I start because I tend to start more series than I finish. So right now I'm finishing up the Throne of Glass series. I only have one book left, which is The Kingdom of Ash, especially now that Sarah J. Maas has announced that new books are coming out. So I want to make sure I finish up that series. Also love the Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire series. I only have a few more books in that series to go. I love Shield of Sparrows, and I love that Rights of Starling just came out. So I'm excited to do a reread of Shield of Sparrows and read Rights of the Starling. I think that's a fantastic series. It was one of my favorite fantasy books last year. Outside of fantasy, Magnolia Parks, that's the series that I need to finish up. I think the first book just gave me so much anxiety that I was afraid to go on, but I will persevere and I will finish the whole Magnolia Parks series. And The Boys of Tommen. I've read the first 4 books. I have 2 more to go, and I think another one is going to be coming out. These characters have my whole heart. I just love them so much, but they do require you to take a step back after each one because they're just so emotional. One that I recommend all the time is The Nightingale. Such a fantastic book, historical fiction, 2 sisters in German-occupied France during World War II, and really how the 2 sisters dealt with that in different ways. Amazing book. That was one of my absolute favorites. I loved Normal People. I thought is very subjective though. Some people like it, some people don't. I really loved it. And This Is How You Lose the Time War. I know that book was very confusing for a lot of people, but once you understand the plot and the premise of the book, it's a lot easier to read. But it was absolutely one of my favorite books when I read it. We were big readers in my family. My dad was a big reader and my sister as well. I still talk with my sister every day about books that we're reading. And as a little girl, I loved the Judy Blume books. I actually met Judy Blume last year at her bookstore in Key West, and she signed one of her latest books for me. So I loved the Judy Blume books. I loved Little House on the Prairie, and I know that they're doing a remake of that TV show, so I'm very excited about that. But the Little House on the Prairie books were a big part of my childhood, and the Black Stallion series as well. I read all those books. So those were some of the ones I read as a little girl, and that probably really aged myself, but I've been reading ever since, and I've always been a big believer in reading books and escaping into a good book. I think in terms of numbers of books, about 125. I think last year I read 140 books. I do want to read a little bit less this year and focus on quality over quantity. I'm happy to DNF a book that just isn't sparking joy in me because I think life's too short to read a bad book. And speaking of bad books, my reviews are not based on what I believe is good literature. I'm not a literature major, an English major. I'm a marketing major. But I rate my books based on how much I enjoyed that book. So when you see my reviews, just know that that's about the vibe of the book, not necessarily the quality of the writing, although sometimes it is the quality of the writing that determines my review. It's really about how much did I really enjoy that book. So I do want to read a little bit less and focus on quality over quantity in my terms, but also maybe add some more genres, a little bit more variety to the genres that I read. I will try some more horror this year. I will try more mystery, but also some nonfiction and some memoirs. I want to add some more of that to the mix this year too. What makes me different? What will make this channel different? Well, there's only one me, and everybody's different. And I love watching different YouTube channels and BookTube channels as well, learning about different genres and different opinions. And that's how we all learn and grow, is by having a variety of things in our lives. And I might have a different opinion than you, but I want to share that with you, and I want you to share your opinions with me as well, because that's how we all try different things and add a little variety to our life. So there's only one me. I'm different than a lot of other people, but I'm also the same as a lot of people too. Well, this is my library, but we're under construction in my house right now. So all of my bookshelves are actually in another room as we're doing some construction on our house. So this is not my library. My library is almost about 1,000 books. So this is typically where I like to read when it's not under construction. When there is things happening here at my house, I like to go to the library or coffee shop and really immerse myself in a book. But I read all over my house. I read outside in my pool and my patio, just really wherever I'm comfortable and like to read. Do I prefer physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks? Yes, I like all different formats of books, and it really depends on the book. Sometimes there's nothing better than holding a good hardcover book in your hand, but if it's a big book, especially these fantasy ones that might be a little bit big and bulky to hold, then I'm definitely going to want to read it on a Kindle or an e-reader, because I read faster then too. But there's just sometimes something really good about holding that physical book. I also love a good audiobook if it's a good audiobook. It really depends on the audiobook narrator, and sometimes it's the genre too, because I can't follow every genre on an audiobook. I just kind of zone out, and I'll be driving down the road and forget that I had an audiobook playing. I'm like, wait, what happened? Who are these people? And I might have to go back and rewind it a little bit. So it really depends on the audiobook. A good example of that is Project Hail Mary. I read the physical book and listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook I thought was such a much better experience for me because of just some of the sound effects in there. There's a lot of good mysteries that add some podcast elements or some additional mixed media elements to the books that in audio just sounds a little bit better. Also, if it has more of a full cast or a duet narration versus just a dual narration. I don't like hearing men doing women's parts and women doing men's parts. It just kind of gives me the ick. So it really depends on the cast of the book, the type of the book as well. And then sometimes I'll listen to such a good audiobook that I'll go out and buy the physical book and reread it and annotate it. So my experience is really mixed and really depends on the book itself, but I love all three: physical books, ebooks, and audiobooks as well. I think most recently was Project Hail Mary. As I mentioned, I read the physical book, listened to the audiobook, and I listened to that on a cross-country road trip with my family. The whole family was listening to this audiobook. We were really engrossed in this book. So I was excited when the movie came out, because that's the type of book that looks really good on a big screen. I loved it, loved the movie, but I have to say I still preferred the audiobook of those three formats. The sound effects just really gave it a little bit something extra, and you can never take a whole book and condense it into a 2-hour movie and have everything. I always find that I'm wanting more from the movie. Some that I watch all the time: Kayla with Books and Lala, fantastic channel. I will link all these below. Gabby with Gabby Reads, Meg with Books, and Allie at All I Do Is Read. These are some of my favorite channels that I subscribe to and watch all the time, and they have very different opinions and very different tastes in genres than I do, and this is why I learn from them. Is I try some of the things that they really recommend, and I've discovered new books that I normally would never have read if it weren't for watching those channels. So I'll link all those below. You should follow them as well. What am I most excited about in this BookTube journey is really connecting with all of you and sharing my love of books, but also hearing from you what are some of your favorite books, your favorite genres, and other things too, like other bookish content, like reading journals or cozy hobbies that you do. These are all things that I love too, and I love this community that we build here on YouTube. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've got some really fun ideas planned for videos. Some of them I've already started filming. So I'm excited for that journey, and I hope you'll come back and join me on this ride. I'd love to know what you're reading right now, so drop that down below in the comments and maybe I can add that to my TBR too. If you love books, honest reviews, and maybe a little bit of chaos in your reading life, I hope you'll subscribe and join me on this journey and come back. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got about 5 books calling my name right now. So until next time, happy reading. Bye. My dog is drinking water. That's his collar, banging against the metal bowl. He'll be finished eventually. Okay. Oh, he's done? Nope, he's not done. How is he done? Finley!